All right, let's talk about something that affects every single one of us, getting offended. Today, we're going to walk through a really practical framework for dealing with it, for developing what the source material calls an unoffended heart. This is all about finding a new kind of freedom. So let's jump right in. First things first, we have to talk about the offense trap. Feeling offended, it's just a part of being human. It could be something small like a comment from a coworker, or something much deeper from a close friend. We've all been there. The real question isn't if it will happen, but what are we going to do when it does? So, just imagine for a second, what if you could actually become unoffendable? What if you could get to a place where those slates and hurts just don't stick to you anymore, where they don't get to control your mood or mess up your relationships? It sounds kind of radical, I know, but that's the big idea we're going to unpack. And this right here, this is the foundational principle. The source draws this really crucial line in the sand. That initial sting you feel when you're offended, that's normal. It's going to happen. The real trap isn't feeling it in the first place, it's choosing to hold on to it, to let it fester. So the goal isn't to never feel offended, it's to choose not to stay offended. Which brings us right to our next point, the big mindset shift. Look, if getting offended is pretty much unavoidable, then the real power isn't how we respond. And this isn't about just building up thicker skin or pretending things don't hurt. It's about actively developing a healthier heart. It's a choice you make, not just something that happens to you. So what even is an unoffended heart? Well, just like it says here, it's a commitment. It's a conscious decision to say, you know what? That hurt, but I'm going to deal with it right now, instead of letting it sour my whole day or chip away at my relationship with this person. It's really about taking ownership of what goes on inside you. Now, this next quote connects being offended to a sense of entitlement. Think about it. A lot of the time, we get offended because we feel like one of our rights was violated. The right to be respected, the right to be treated fairly. The argument here is pretty radical. It says that letting go of these personal rights is actually the very thing that opens the door to real freedom. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually pull this off in the real world? Let's get super practical with an action plan. The source material gives us 3 different ways to respond, and it all depends on just how big the offense is. Here's the playbook. For those minor everyday annoyances, the advice is simple. Just forgive it right then and there. Let it go. Now, if it keeps happening, you might need to gently address it. For those middle-range offenses, the ones that really get under your skin, the focus turns inward. You got to ask yourself, whoa, why did that hit such a nerve with me? And for the major stuff, the deep wounds, the key is don't try to go it alone. Actively get help, work on your heart, and keep a close watch for any bitterness trying to sneak in. All right, this next part takes us even deeper, because dealing with offense isn't just about managing what you do on the outside. It's about completely rewiring that voice inside your head and changing the way you see other people. And this whole idea is really anchored in the principle you see right here, valuing others above ourselves. Now, this isn't about putting yourself down, not at all. It's about adopting a posture of humility that completely changes the lens through which you see other people's actions. And this slide just lays out that internal battle perfectly. On the left, you've got the trap. We do this, right? We slap these little labels on people. Annoying Anthony or offensive Oprah, because honestly, it makes us feel justified in our irritation. But the path to freedom, over on the right, is committing to see people for who they really are, without that filter of our own annoyance distorting everything. Okay, this next section is a total game changer. It's all about shifting from being reactive and on the defensive to being powerfully proactive. The idea is to stop seeing yourself as a victim of other people's actions and become what the source calls a history maker, someone who actually shapes their own relational world for the better. And the main tool for that? It's blessing. So how do you do it? How do you proactively bless someone? Well, like you see here, the practice is simple, even if it's not always easy. So for example, when someone cuts you off in traffic, the goal is to build a new habit. Instead of that flash of anger, you replace it with a blessing, even a simple one like, hey, I hope you get where you're going safely. It's about intentionally writing over that negative impulse with a positive one, again and again and again. And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. When you keep your thoughts, meaning when you're the one managing your internal world, you don't need to keep your mouth. You don't have to constantly police every word you say. Because the real battle, it's won or lost in your own mind long before a single word ever comes out. Finally, let's talk about the commitments that help us leave a clean slate. This is all about restoration. It's about making sure we're not carrying old, heavy baggage from one situation into the next. These last two commitments here are so powerful. First, make the relationship more important than being right. Be willing to ask for forgiveness even when you're pretty sure you were 90% in the right. And second, never just walk away from a job or community with unresolved issues. You can agree to disagree, for sure, but you part ways with respect. You leave no loose ends for bitterness to grab onto. So as we wrap up, we just want to leave you with this question right here on the screen. What relationship could you start to restore today? You'd be amazed what one small step can do. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.